Lucy, is it?
Yeah.
Look, it's step in 2 seconds.
Oh, yes.
Death followed Lucy Letby around.
The UK's worst child killer.
Did she or didn't she?
Lucy Letby must be free!
Troubling questions
This was so obvious.
about a child serial killer's conviction.
I think she will be exonerated.
Is that right? You're not overblowing this, are you?
Could Lucy Letby really be innocent?
Probably going to be the biggest miscarriage of justice in criminal justice history of the United Kingdom.
It's a crime as horrifying as it is unimaginable. The murder of 7 infants and the attempted murder of 7 more by a British nurse entrusted with their care. Dubbed an angel of death, 35-year-old Lucy Letby has become one of the most notorious child killers in modern history. Yet, the case is now facing a dramatic shift. A growing chorus of supporters argue that her conviction may rest on flawed and complex medical advice. Their concerns have been amplified by new revelations that cast serious doubt on her guilt and could change everything we thought we knew. The stakes couldn't be higher. Lucy Letby is either a remorseless killer or the tragic target of one of the gravest miscarriages of justice in British legal history.
Hello, Lucy, is it?
Yeah.
Hello.
6 a.m. on the 3rd of July 2018.
Hello, my name's Chester, please. Look, it's step in 2 seconds.
Oh, yes.
It was the day everything changed. The day police arrested Lucy Letby, forever altering the landscape of British justice. The young neonatal nurse, the archetypical girl next door, accused of the unthinkable, murdering 7 babies in her care and attempting to kill 7 more. The crimes were so shocking that last year she was sentenced to 15 whole life terms.
Making the 33-year-old the UK's worst child killer in modern times.
But her conviction isn't the end of a case as disturbing as it is perplexing. On one side are those convinced that Lucy Letby is a ruthless serial killer who hunted vulnerable infants, waiting for a chance to strike. The clincher, death seemed to follow her.
She was stalking these babies, looking for an opportunity to kill them.
The slam dunk is that death followed Lucy Letby around.
But just as vocal are those who insist she's innocent and that justice got it wrong. In this episode, you're going to hear from both sides. On the one hand, that she's a cold-blooded killer.
You will spend the rest of your life in prison.
On the other, in an extraordinary twist, the experts who have found no evidence of murder.
These babies died through natural causes. Was that your conclusion?
This was so obvious as to have us falling off our chairs.
I think she will be exonerated.
Is that right? You're not overblowing this, are you?
I think it's going to be the biggest miscarriage of justice in the criminal justice history of the United Kingdom.
In the case against Lucy Letby, the crime scene was the Countess of Chester Hospital in Cheshire, northwest England. Alarms first rang in 2015 when senior doctors noticed a spike in infant deaths, nearly triple the hospital's usual rate. But management failed to act, pushing the concerned doctors to escalate matters. 2 years later, they demanded the police step in.
My role was to find out, if I could, what had caused the collapse, what had caused the death, and how this had occurred.
Retired paediatrician Dr. Dewi Evans was brought in to review the infant deaths for police. Soon became the prosecution's key witness. Almost immediately, he grew suspicious, identifying 7 unexplained deaths and 9 sudden collapses that he warned demanded a deeper investigation.
These were babies who were under control. In other words, they were not requiring huge amounts of oxygen. They were not requiring breathing support. They were quite stable, and suddenly, from being quite stable, they suddenly would collapse.
Unaware then of who might be responsible, and after ruling out all other possibilities, Dr. Evans arrived at the only explanation he found plausible. There must have been foul play.
Did you think we have a horror show here? What did you think was going on?
Yeah, you really had to think the unthinkable.
The unthinkable meant there was deliberate harm being done. There was a murderer on the ward, and Cheshire Constabulary had a suspect they were zeroing in on, the then 28-year-old Lucy Letby. What made her a suspect was that, while no one ever saw her harm these infants, Letby was the only staff member on shift every time there was a questionable collapse or death.
What was she doing to these babies?
Lucy Letby harmed babies in a number of ways. She harmed babies by injecting air via syringe into the bloodstream. She harmed other babies by giving a large amount of milk, or probably milk and air, into the stomach. There's evidence that she harmed some babies directly, and she harmed some babies by injecting them with insulin.
Oh, Lucy, is it?
Yeah.
In July 2018, detectives pounced, arresting and probing the young nurse about the rise in baby deaths on the unit.
They told me that there had been a lot more deaths and that I'd been linked to something that was there for a lot.
Did you have any concerns that there was a rise in the mortality rate?
Yes.
Okay, so tell me about that. What concerns did you have?
I think we don't just notice as a team in general, the nursing staff, that this was as compared to previous years.
But while Letby was maintaining her innocence to investigators, a search of her home would uncover a trove of incriminating evidence, including hundreds of case notes, some relating to the babies that had collapsed, stuffed inside shopping bags. She also repeatedly searched for their parents on social media. But the most damning of all, this note: "I am evil, I did this." On the face of it, a chilling confession to the most shocking of crimes.
Is there something in this case that is a slam dunk for you, David, that makes you believe she is guilty?
Death followed her about. You know, Lucy Letby went on holiday, there were no deaths. Lucy Letby returns from holiday, there are immediately 2 deaths. What is the evidence that would actually...
Criminologist Professor David Wilson specialises in studying serial killers. He believes the case against Letby was made when the prosecution presented the so-called confession note, as well as a rota that showed she was the only nurse on duty for all suspicious deaths.
In terms of the impact that they had on the jury, I'm absolutely convinced they were gotcha moments, because it was something that a jury of 12 ordinary people could latch onto. Well, you know, why is she writing that? Look, it stands to reason that if she's on shift and there are spikes in the numbers of deaths, it must be her that are causing them. That was the prosecution's case.
In July last year, Lucy Letby was convicted and sentenced never to be released from jail.
2 juries looked at the evidence that was presented and said, yeah, we think she is a serial killer.
But now comes the other side, the defense. And with new revelations emerging, they believe Lucy Letby could soon walk free.
The evidence that went before the jury has been demolished now by the fresh evidence, and we need to get back to the Criminal Court of Appeal.
You believe her?
I do.
Stay tuned for part 2. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.